Welcome to Smash Fiction, the podcast where we pit two or more fictional characters against one another in a battle of strength, or wits, or stupid, sexy swashbuckling, and see who would win. This week, Captain Jack Harkness versus Captain Jack Sparrow. With the last of his strength, Captain Jack Harkness throws himself sideways into the alley, his bloodied face briefly lit up by a series of explosions, detonating in the exact spot he had been a moment before. Not that his death would have been anything more than temporary, of course, but his pursuers are only a few steps behind, and Jack doesn't care to fall into their hands. Cybermen again, he thinks to himself. Although he's never seen Cybermen wearing green cloaks and riding robot horses before. And the...
Miles.
And the laser swords and flying bombs are also new.
Alright.
Whatever they are, Jack figures they must have something to do with those weird beam things he's been looking into recently, but right now he doesn't have time to figure out the mystery. Earth, as usual, is under attack by a non-human force, and the timing couldn't be worse, what with Torchwood falling apart and the Doctor off gallivanting somewhere with that new sexy AI companion of his. Jack has to figure out a way to repel these latest invaders, but first he has to get out of this alley alive. He stumbles forward into the darkness, groping for some sort of light at the end of the tunnel. His heart sinks as he realizes the alley is a dead end, but rises again when he notices the door. There are some words carved on it, but he can't read them and wouldn't have time if he could. The new Cybermen have rounded the corner and spotted him. Throwing caution to the wind, Jack opens the door and leaps across the threshold, the sound of chimes ringing in his ears. With the last of his strength, Captain Jack Sparrow throws himself through the gates of the city by the sea, the claws of the nearest lobster monster snapping shut exactly where his leg had been a moment before. The gates slam closed, shutting out the horrific creatures and their endless, nonsensical questions. As the guards lift him up between them and rush for the nearest doctor to treat his wounds, Jack mutters bitterly and drunkenly to nobody about the state he once again finds himself in. Bunch of ungrateful, bloody pirates. That's the only word for them. I said I'd lead him here, and the treasure inside was worth more than all the Cortez gold put together, so what's the matter if I couldn't resist taking one little coin, eh? It's me that got cursed again, not them. You'd think they would just let a man to his own folly, but oh no, it's another bloody mutiny, isn't it? And now it's me again, all by me lonesome, with just me sword and me hat and me compass, and the pistol with the one shot, of course. He leers at...
I think it's good.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm sorry. Oh.
He leers at the doctor with no concern whatsoever for the doctor's gender. Tell you what, love, he slurs. Never trust a pirate, savvy? Not creative thinkers, do the same thing every time. Then he passes out. In the days that follow, Jack Harkness and Jack Sparrow learn the nature of the city in which they've both suddenly arrived, a thriving scumbag metropolis known as the Port of Andoliniville. The story goes that long ago, a crook by the name of Jack Andolini had become stranded on the beach, where he would have been quickly killed by the lobster things, if not for the serendipity of stumbling over a strange deck of cards as he ran. Why he decided his last act in this world would be to draw one of them, no one knows, but the notoriously lucky gambler drew fast and drew well. The deck was magical, and not only did its power save Andolini from certain death, it also granted him enormous wealth and helped him bring this city into existence almost overnight. Populated almost exclusively by New York gangsters, Andoliniville became the centerpiece of an empire of crime, which Andolini himself ruled with an iron fist. But, despite his success, the temptation to draw new cards was too great, and he finally hit the bad ones. With Andolini suddenly broke, stupid, and catatonic due to his soul being removed, the city devolved into a massive crime war, and after years, a victor emerged, declaring herself the new Empress of Crime. Christina Contino Sambi had gained possession of the last undrawn card from the deck, and seeing as nobody knew what it would do if she drew it, the various families quickly fell into line, and her rule has been the status quo ever since. This story sets the minds of both Harkness and Sparrow to racing. Via independent investigations, both men learn that the last card wasn't even supposed to be in the deck at all, but was apparently thrown in as a rare piece of promotional swag when a financially struggling wizard guild had decided to get a sponsorship. Harkness hears whispers that the sponsor was something called Skynet, and that they claim to have invented time travel. He reasons that the last card almost certainly provides passage through time, and while he's not entirely sure if he's in the past or in the future, a move through the time stream for free card is just what he needs to get back to London and stop the invasion. Sparrow, meanwhile, hears a different rumor. The sponsor was actually a novelty store called Curse Purge Plus, and while the owner did nihilistically set it on fire a few days after it opened, everything that came out of that place was designed to break curses. Sparrow figures the same must be true of the last card. But how to get it? Empress Zombie keeps the card stashed away deep in her personal fortress, a narrow 30-story monstrosity known as Dark Wayside Tower. Harkness and Sparrow have both discovered that the card resides in a room on the 19th story, but are confused by the fact that by all reports the 19th story somehow doesn't exist. They are armed with their standard weapons and items, as well as the knowledge that every lock in the tower can be opened with the combination 1999, but they still have to sneak, swashbuckle, slander, and seduce their way through Zombie's army of anachronistic gangsters, and there's no telling what other defenses or obstacles they might encounter. This challenge will test the fighting ability, intelligence, social skills, sex appeal, wit, bravery, reckless stupidity, and sheer dumb luck of the two immortal Captains Jack. But which of them will be the first to find the tower, breach it, and climb to the top? Or at least to the 19th story, whatever that is. I don't know, cause a wheel or some shit. I'm Miles Schneiderman, and I will be your immensely apologetic judge for this match.
You have nothing to apologize for. You turned what was otherwise a simple concept into a massive Dark Tower D&D crossover, so, you know.
Representing Team Jack Harkness is Dan Mulcairn.
Captain Dan Mulcairn. And who are you?
Funny you should ask, Dan. And returning to guest advocate once again, Hannah Pascoe.
People, your listening figures just went up.
Representing Team Jack Sparrow are Megan Bob.
Nothing personal, Team Harkness. It's just good business.
And Sharon Schneiderman.
Did everyone see that bullshit? Because I will not be doing that again.
In order to determine who goes first this week, I asked the advocates to vote on which feature of this match provided the most unfair advantage. The fact that my wife is on Team Sparrow, or the fact that Johnny Depp has proven to be kind of a piece of shit human being. Predictably, everybody voted for the choice that accused the other team of having an advantage, except Dan, who claimed that he and Sharon were approximately equal in the standings of my romantic affection, so...
Tell me I'm wrong.
So Depp being a piece of shit won the vote, and Team Sparrow will be going first to even the odds. Team Sparrow, not all treasure is silver and gold, but hopefully your arguments are.
In this battle of Captain Jacks of all trades, Captain Jack Sparrow is the swashbucklingest swashbuckler of all. I can't decide if Captain Sparrow is constantly drunk or just in a perpetual state of heat stroke, but his strange antics and act of ineptitude lull his adversaries into a false sense of security. From Admiral Norrington to Lord Beckett, Captain Barbossa to Davy Jones, they all think of Captain Jack Sparrow as not quite all there. And he isn't. But he is either the most brilliant genius coming up with escape methods on the fly, the MacGyver of piracy, a planner extraordinaire with a meticulous sense of detail, formulating every mission and adventure and contemplating every contingency, or he is one lucky bastard. And by lucky, I don't mean, I found a penny heads up. No, I'm talking, I was just eaten by the fucking Kraken and was able to be brought back from Davy Jones's locker. Captain Jack Sparrow's skills and or luck are ridiculous. Not only does he escape custody and capture countless times, he escapes in ludicrous ways. He eludes being captured by Admiral Norrington, the governor, and soldiers by taking Elizabeth Swann captive with the very chain that is holding him prisoner, launches himself in the air, knocking several soldiers into the waters below, then ziplines his way out of danger. He escapes King George's custody by annoying the king with his incessant jangling of chains into removing said chains. He then causes a guard to slide out the window on a napkin that Sparrow just haphazardly dropped on the floor, flies up the window curtain, swings across the room on a chandelier to a landing, grabbing a pastry on the way, escapes through another window, then wagon jumps his way to freedom. He is also able to flee the confinement of Spanish soldiers, freeing his hands of rope, backwards rappelling up a palm tree, then using the rope and a coconut, he lassos another palm tree and unexplainably pulls the palm tree toward him while perching atop another, and catapults himself into the air, fights off a series of soldiers, tying them to a tree with the same rope, and escapes with Barbossa and the goblets from the Fountain of Youth. Captain Jack Sparrow's constant absconding detention isn't enough. When plans go awry, usually due to a companion doing something stupid, his improvisation skills are not limited to escape. He is excellent at coming up with plans on the fly for weapons and useful items. He fights with wrought iron, buckets, pipes, coconuts, melons, and cutlery. He's like the Jackie Chan of pirates. It's fucking pirate foo. He uses leverage, fulcrums, pulleys, wheels, rocks, and other opponents to win a fight. Oh, and aim? He hits a sailor running through the jungle with a rock from over 50 feet away. How about with a gun? He shot a moving barrel in the air of a rocking ship that is being shaken by the fucking Kraken. One shot. Should we talk about his persuasion abilities? Everyone hates Captain Jack Sparrow at one point or another, but he is always able to win them over. He holds Elizabeth Swann captive, pissing off both her and Will Turner, and by the end, they risk everything to save the lovable scamp. Captain Jack Sparrow convinces Joshua Gibbs to leave the Royal Navy for a life of piracy and becomes one of Jack's biggest allies and friends. Angelique is seduced by Captain Sparrow, cajoling her into leaving a Spanish convent to help him. When he chooses not to make friends with those that he can use, he manipulates them into believing that he is completely indispensable, holding knowledge that no one else knows, or at least makes others believe that he has this knowledge, such as the location and ritual of the Fountain of Youth. If he doesn't know where it is, he has a fucking magic compass that the goddess Calypso herself gave him that allows Sparrow to discover the location of the item that he wants most. Captain Jack Sparrow is a survivor, always bargaining and always extemporizing the speech that will turn the tides in his direction. You know the ladies in Tortuga that want to take his head off? He pisses them off more than once, which means that he's won them over time and time again. When not talking his way out of dangerous situations, he uses his crazed movements and strange mannerisms to make others think that he doesn't know what he's doing. They think he's inept and stupid. Basically, he Columbos them. Whether using flattery, confidence, a guise, annoyance, or selective truths, Sparrow persuades others, allowing him to use their strengths and exploit their weaknesses. I forgot to mention one little thing. Captain Jack Sparrow does every single one of these things while he is mortal and alive. Now that he is the stolen gold of Isla de Muerta again, he cannot die. He can't even be hurt. He feels nothing. No need to wait to come back from the dead. Skeletal Captain Jack Sparrow will be able to fight any foe, seduce any maiden, or swashbuckle any situation because he will have no fear of death. He'll be in a city similar to Tortuga. Whether it be wealth, immortality, booty, or adventure, Captain Jack Sparrow will always find it. Remember this as the day you almost bullshitted your way around Captain Jack Sparrow.
Milad, these men are both charming, roguish, swaggering, and most swashbucklesome indeed.
Indeed they are.
I cannot stand here and tell you that Jack Harkness isn't everything Jack Sparrow is and more. Harkness is sexier, funnier, and has undeniably superior hygiene. However, he is also a man unlikely to complete this mission. Harkness is ballsy, Milad. The court freely admits this. However, we must draw your attention to the sheer number of times that he has kicked the proverbial bucket. He was buried alive for several hundred years and died many times. During that time, but I will count that once. Beyond that, he has been stabbed with a bottle, exterminated by Daleks, been shot, deleted by a Cyberwoman, shot again, laser screwdrivered, shot again, pushed off a very tall building, exploded, buried in concrete. He's been killed a little over 20 times on screen. Because he's immortal, he takes bigger and messier risks. He comes back, Your Honor, and while we all agree that that is hella cool, coming back is not instantaneous. It goes death, pause, large noticeable gasp, followed by Harkness getting his bearings again. During that lull, there is more time for the undead Sparrow to sneak around and shimmy closer to the prize. Harkness gets captured quite a lot by his brother, by John Hart, by the Master, by Torchwood agents Alice Guppy and Emily Holroyd. Harkness is fallible and able to be taken down by people with far fewer tricks up their sleeve than he supposedly has. He can and will be taken down by the nut jobs in this port town. Even if they come face to face and there's a fight, Gwen Cooper, a human police person, punches Jack to the ground. Another person who punches Jack Harkness is Reese. Reese Williams! Gwen's soft, gentle muffin of a partner. That guy punches Jack Harkness. Harkness primarily works with established teams. As a time agent with the Doctor, with Torchwood, he has a tendency to seek out and be part of teams where there are clear lines and hierarchy. He does sometimes work alone, but it is rarely showcased in either show. He is either working as a colleague in Nightmare Space Whimsy with the Doctor, or leading hardcore, erotic, grimdark fuckery with Torchwood, aka Doctor Who After Dark. Harkness isn't used to being both the entire brains of an operation and the one who then executes all the plans. If you think that Harkness can assemble a team of people to work with him, I suspect you're right. He absolutely can. Caveat, they will be incompetent. Either they will be extras and layabouts from Pirate of the Caribbean. Or sorry, pirates. It's not just the one pirate. It's just that one fucking pirate. Pirates of the Caribbean. In which case, good luck getting anything done. Unless you've got Barbossa or Sparrow on your side. Or they will be brilliant and cunning Torchwood types who are bested by their own curiosity and hubris. Often dying in the process. Susie of the Resurrection Gauntlet. Tosh and the alien mind-reading pendant. Yanto and his cyberwoman girlfriend Lisa. Owen and most everything he does. No quasi-Torchwood team is going to pull out a win here. This all presumes that he can stay focused enough to charm people into working with him. Does Jack do that? Yeah, sometimes he does. But if you dare suggest he is not also a love hound who can be distracted by the power of sexual attraction, then you stand in a house of falsehoods and you have sullied your good name with fibbery. For shame! Every goddamn episode of Doctor Who that features Jack Harkness involves him saying, hello, and the Doctor immediately saying, stop it. Because when Harkness says hello, it is understood to mean, I would like to shiver your timbers if you are amenable to having your timbers shivered. Harkness might be on a mission, but he likes to do a lot of shagging side quests. If it takes being reined in by the last Time Lord, then that's a hell of a boner killer to need in order to stay on task. Yes, he does focus at Torchwood because they are his subordinates and he's got some sense of responsibility. On his own, I hope everyone in Port Royal or wherever this is going down is ready for the full and overwhelming erotic attentions of Jack Harkness.
It's Andoliniville, Bob.
Yeah, sorry. Well, in Andoliniville, where this is all going down. Oh, so many erotic attentions.
You're wasting away again in
I am.
Andoliniville.
Oh.
Anyway.
Okay.
Sorry, continue.
All right. A bunch of sailors and pirates. This is literally the start of multiple pornographic tales of wonder. Do you truly think Jack will resist that? No. Because pirate porn is a thing that exists in the world, I am 90% sure that the sole reason for its existence is because Mr. Fixed Point in Time Harkness shags everyone in this town, gets a taste for seamen. No, I regret it. I just had to do it. Gets a taste for seagoing folk, you know.
Sorry.
I feel patronized now.
I mean,
rightly so. You know what? And gets a taste for booty. There we go. And single-handedly starts a trend of sexy pirate media. Woo! Jack Harkness can't overcome the insanity of Sparrow with teamwork, combat, or charm. His best hope is to grab some sea turtles and try his luck elsewhere.
Bob, can I just say real quick 2 things? First of all, I know that none of you were aware that I was writing the scenario to be some kind of weird, instantly sprung up deck of many things Dark Tower City. So the judge will allow that there are pirates in this place. Lots of them.
Thank you.
So your pirate porn theory is alive and well.
Thank you. I mean, that's all I've ever wanted.
Also, just a fair warning to Dan and Hannah, don't bother rebutting that. I don't care.
That's fine. It never even crossed my mind.
Just making sure.
Yeah, Dan doesn't
All right.
waste his points.
And second of all, I want you to use that inflection every time you're on this show.
Yes, please.
My angry barrister.
It was great.
That's right. I loved it.
I could hear the powdered wig.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Excellent opening taunts from Team Sparrow. Team Harkness, hello.
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 I'm just gonna say right off the bat that Jack Harkness is the celestially promiscuous, immortal hero we all need. From a charming, madcap, sexy rogue with a mysterious past, to an immortal, telepathic, giant head, Jack Harkness is a true leader of men. With infinite knowledge of past and future events because he's lived through it all as an immortal time traveler, Jack can use his trans-temporal knowledge and technology to his advantage in any situation. With his history of criminal activity, he can convincingly manipulate whatever crime lord or henchman or pirate comes his way into doing whatever he wants to get the upper hand, convincing whoever he is speaking to that he knows what's going on because, let's face it, he probably does. Having spent centuries traveling through time and space looking for first his missing past and then searching for the Doctor, he has adventured far and wide, gaining a wealth of knowledge, patience, skill, and an array of technologically advanced weapons that he can use to conquer whatever comes his way. Harkness has also died over 1 billion times. This leaves him with little in the way of fear. He endured thousands of years of death and suffering being buried alive, and is always willing to sacrifice himself for the sake of humanity or his friends, giving him the moral high ground on old Jack Sparrow over there. I mean, there's one episode of Torchwood where the team goes up against Abaddon the Destroyer, a Godzilla-sized demon who is the son of the devil himself and whose very shadow drains the life from people. Harkness comes up with the idea of allowing the demon to feed on him because he's immortal and he effectively has an infinite amount of life. The demon ends up gorging himself to death on Captain Harkness, who ends up just fine. In his capacity and willingness to endure suffering and sacrifice himself for the greater good, Jack is the ultimate hero. Harkness may not always be the smartest in the room, though he's definitely smarter than Jack Sparrow. He's always willing to put himself on the line for the people he cares about and for the sake of humanity, showing great strength of character and conviction. Harkness is not only mentally strong and equipped, he also exudes physical strength.
Wait, go back to the part about him being equipped, please. I want to hear more about that.
We all know about his equipment.
Yeah,
That's true. I just wanted to hear it again.
We see in The Last of the Time Lords that Harkness is strong enough to rip metal chains out of a wall. At one point, he's even able to cling to the side of the TARDIS, which is trying to shake him off, despite being subjected to the time vortex swirling around him. The TARDIS eventually gets to the end of time itself, and Harkness still hasn't let go. In conjunction with all this innate physical strength, he's also a spectacularly good fighter. He takes out trained soldiers in Bad Wolf and CIA agents in Rendition, and we all remember the Weeping Angels, the nightmare-inducing space gargoyles that can move at impossible speeds in the literal blink of an eye. Yeah, Harkness faces down a whole horde of those guys in the comic Secret Agent Man. But Harkness's strength isn't just brute force. It's graceful and agile. He's light on his feet, showing he's got moves when he dances with both Rose and the Doctor. So, he's not only mentally and physically superior to Jack Sparrow, but most importantly, he's a far better flirt. Jack loves everybody, and of course, everyone loves him back. Captain Jack Harkness is not only openly pansexual and will sleep with anything that moves, but anything that moves, human or alien or otherwise, would probably also sleep with him. He's a cheerful, sex-positive, people-positive flirt. So capable, in fact, that he got himself out of a death sentence by sleeping with his executioners. Harkness flirts incessantly, yes, but never arrogantly. His expectation is never, I can have anyone I want because I'm hot, but rather, you right there. You and I and anyone else who wants to join in would probably have a great time together because we'd probably like each other and we'd probably enjoy sex together. He also revealed in an episode of Torchwood that he was once pregnant, challenging heteronormative ideas of sexuality and gender binaries on a friggin' TV show. Harkness also, canonically, has evolved pheromones which make him universally nice-smelling and attractive to others. Jack Sparrow, on the other hand, canonically, has breath that smells like wet donkey.
Pitting the highly intelligent, well-equipped, and technologically advanced Jack Harkness against Jack Sparrow is kind of like pitting the best cop of the modern age against, well, not quite a caveman, the evolutionary difference is greater than that. What's further down the chain than a caveman? An early mammal? A cartilaginous fish? Maybe some type of algae? But that really only covers the technological edge. It's really like putting the world's best cop against the world's most unstable, unlucky, unlikable algae, which also has a drinking problem and non-existent impulse control. Jack Sparrow may be the lead of an action film franchise, but he's really more of a comedic character, more likely to engage in pratfalls and slapstick than to show any real, consistent combat prowess. None of his victories have been definitive and unquestionable. When he does succeed, it's always by the narrowest of margins, the skin of his teeth due to a last-minute turn of fortune. Up until that point, he's flying by the seat of his pants, never more than a half step ahead of complete and utter disaster. And all of this is due almost entirely to his own clumsiness, lack of focus, drunkenness, or overestimation of his own abilities. They are present in every escapade he engages in, and will always be there to draw attention and complications in with magnetic force. The most recent Pirates movie, Dead Men Tell No Tales, really highlights just how far Sparrow's star has fallen. The movie begins with Sparrow's pirate crew enacting a daring plan to steal a gold-filled vault right out of a bank, and Sparrow foils his own plan single-handedly by getting blackout drunk and passing out inside the vault. As a result, he ends up drawing the attention of the entire town guard and spilling the contents of the vault out into the town streets, completely denying his crew their otherwise well-earned victory. After this complete fiasco, Sparrow takes his compass, his magical compass, which points to whatever he wants most, and he gives it away to a bartender in exchange for a single bottle of grog. This not only deprives Jack of, arguably, his single most useful tool, it also frees the undead pirate Salazar from his weird Bermuda Triangle prison and allows him to start pursuing Sparrow. But the shit show continues. Sparrow's journey through this film involves him falling in mud, getting nearly guillotined multiple times, and being so shallow, egocentric, and unreliable that even his closest friends turn on him. But of course, this is just one movie, and admittedly, this installment of the franchise is openly exaggerating some of Sparrow's character traits more than is typical, but none of these qualities come out of nowhere. If you've been watching the Pirates movies from the beginning, you know that Sparrow is just not who you turn to when you need someone who can reliably get the job done. I don't know exactly what it is. Maybe it's a serious vitamin deficiency, or perpetual drunkenness, or a lot of time spent on the swaying deck of a ship. Maybe Sparrow's just hit his head way too many times on the low ceilings below decks, but he is one seriously unbalanced individual in pretty much every sense of the word. The kind of person who thinks that fighting the Kraken's mouth in melee equals strategy. The kind of person with a lack of object permanence so bad that he apparently presumes that every conversation he has with a given individual will be the last conversation he has with that person, and feels no compunctions about double-crossing them because how could that ever come back to bite him in the ass? The kind of person who drinks before, after, and during a fight, never connecting the dots that maybe, just maybe, he wouldn't have quite so many comedic pratfalls, repeated concussions, and embarrassing defeats if he eased up on the rum just a tad. If Harkness was only Sparrow's technological superior, Harkness would have the edge. If he was only better at establishing and maintaining beneficial relationships, negotiating social situations, and seducing anything that moves, Harkness would have the edge. If he was only capable of self-control, knew when to moderate his drinking, and was able to stay upright for longer than 5 minutes, he would have the edge. But all of this, and many, many more advantages aside, mean that Harkness is going home with the prize, while Sparrow goes down with the ship. Which, how have I not done a go down with the ship euphemism yet in a Jack Harkness match? Damn it.
I'm so disappointed in you.
Can I start over?
All right. Team Harkness firing back at the invaders as we move into rebuttals. Team Sparrow, why fight when you can negotiate? I mean, in this case, I guess just fight and negotiate at the same time?
Is one of us going to say parlay? We should all just say parlay at some point in this.
Parlay!
Parlay! All right. Dan, you mentioned basically that Jack Sparrow is a scumbag. Is this correct?
I think that was more than implied, yes.
Yeah. That's how he gets stuff done. Gotta be ruthless. What are you talking
moral
about?
high ground. Who fucking cares about moral high ground? We're not going for moral high ground. We're going for stealing an object. That doesn't take moral thoughts.
But see, here's the thing. You guys were talking about how Harkness relies on allies, and like, Sparrow does too. The problem with Sparrow and the difference between the two characters is that Sparrow breaks his own alliances regularly. So like, you know, his allies may eventually come back to him, but that just means that like anytime he gets into a situation where having an ally is useful or necessary, it's a coin flip as to whether or not he's actually on good terms with any of his friends.
But in this situation, where we're in a town trying to get one item in a short period of time, I don't think he'll have enough time to break and try to realign with people. He's going to only need to hop from one person to another to just scheme, seduce, run away, escape, do wacky antics, scheme.
I feel like he always expects that to be the case, and inevitably, it never is that simple. And inevitably, his backstabbing always comes back to him.
Yeah, he does that a lot, and it does go very, very sideways. But the thing is that he's so good at creating a terrible web of people who are simultaneously on his side and furious with him, but need something that he has or hate him so much that they want to hold on to him until they can sell him to somebody or get something from somebody who wants him more. He basically has an impenetrable web of enemies that protect him from his other enemies. I don't know how that fucking works, and yet it is what he has done.
Can we all just remember that Captain Jack spent years as a con man and a criminal, too? Like, he's got just as many tricks up his sleeve as Jack Sparrow does. He'll be fine swashbuckling and doing what he does. He's got a big coat that he can wave around like a cape.
You know, I'm with Hannah on this. That coat is way the fuck better than Sparrow's hat.
The judge recognizes the quality of Jack Harkness's coat.
I wanted to say the compass that you said he gave away for a drink. That compass, he's given away multiple times to multiple people, and he always fucking gets it back. It's like his hat. It's like it's magnetically attached to his body, and it just is like, nope, this thing went in a kraken mouth, and somehow someone randomly fucking found it, and I have it again.
See, I feel like that just comes back to the whole point I was making about the alliances, which is that he makes bad decisions in the full expectation that things are going to turn around for him at some point down the road. And like, in his case, that is usually how it happens, but that means that there's a large period of time where he doesn't have those resources to draw on. And I feel like Harkness, who is, you know, a lot more rational, a lot more positive, a lot more charming, and a lot nicer and friendlier, is going to be attracting allies who are more consistently with him. He's not going to squander away his resources foolishly. He's going to be able to draw upon useful resources much more reliably than Sparrow will.
Hannah, you brought up that Jack is, he has the moral high ground and he's a good person and he does noble and important things. These are all true. I feel like this is one of the problems of the nature of Torchwood and Doctor Who is that he will have other goals and then they will get sucked into doing a nice thing for other people who need a nice thing to be done. And that is often what happens to Jack Harkness. He's going along doing his thing and he's like, oh, but people need help. And I'm a person, what helps people? I feel like this could happen. Maybe he'll save the town. May not get the card, but he will save these people.
I mean, if we're going on how, you know, Doctor Who and Torchwood is structured, he's going to save the town and get the card. He's going to do a good thing for all the people and then also get what he set out to get. He's got the charm, he's got the smarts, and he's the good person who's going to help people along the way, not just sort of knock them out with his stinky breath.
Or because he fucks with it, he could end up turning an entire city into a rampaging city of mask-wearing things because he messed with some stuff that was beyond his knowledge.
Do we really want to get into all the times that Jack Sparrow has almost ended the world because he really wanted some booze?
We should, but we probably don't have enough time.
You say that Jack Harkness is smarter than Captain Jack Sparrow? So if you're making that point, then Jack Sparrow is the fucking luckiest person on the planet Earth. He basically has Black Cat levels of fucking luck powers because either he plans that shit out or some deity is looking over him saying, oh, that's gonna work to that, that's gonna work to that. Because I know you said that he fucks things up all the time, but everything always works out in his favor every single time in the long run.
I mean, in the end result, that's true. But there's a lot of periods of time before that he's falling in the mud or getting thrown into jail or getting sent up to the executioner's block. Whereas if you look at Harkness's success rate in terms of like individual tasks, he's a lot better. And that does have a large degree to do with the fact that he is a lot smarter than Sparrow. I mean, Harkness took a device that was just designed to undress you and turned it into a gun that destroyed the Supreme Dalek. That is some intelligence any way you slice it.
The reason that Jack Sparrow is lucky and always has things work out for him is because of what every single person around him is doing. It's never what he's doing. It's all the other people working hard, fighting hard. Whereas Captain Harkness is always on the front line. He's doing the shit.
That's untrue. Frequently, it is him.
Oh, but we can't rebut their rebuttal. We have to wait till they say it in the next round.
All right, Team Sparrow, really hoisting the colors there. Good job.
Oh, thank you.
Team Harkness, show your opponents the face of woe.
Oh, puns.
One of the points that you guys brought up was that Harkness depends on the companions that he travels with. Torchwood is one example that you brought up. And like the Torchwood organization is known as an incredibly efficient and effective group. You know, they're capable of protecting Britain from all sorts of alien weirdness, but that group's efficiency and effectiveness is entirely due to Jack Harkness. Like, he disappears before the beginning of season 2 of Torchwood, and we see that the rest of the team is barely able to handle a single alien invader without him. And as soon as he shows up, he takes out that alien threat with one bullet in a second. Like, that's the difference that having him on the team makes. He is Torchwood.
Sounds like he picks bad people when he does the interview process.
Yeah.
He should use ZipRecruiter.
Oh my god!
Is it better to be like part of a team and you pick really, really stupid, shitty people? Or maybe you pick people who have better skills than you and are like better tasked at each individual thing.
Dude, there is no one better at those things than Jack Harkness. Like, he's just recruiting skilled but otherwise normal people. The fact that they can't handle an alien threat is just a testament to how incredibly skilled Jack Harkness is at doing that same thing.
Jack Sparrow shoots a barrel and takes out a good chunk of a kraken by himself.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a shame that the only firearms he uses are single-shot flintlock pistols, so God forbid he ever has to shoot two things.
And imprisoned someone in the Bermuda Triangle.
There's this other point that you guys were bringing up that Harkness's libido and good nature tend to send him, I believe, Megan Bob, you called it side quests that he tends to go on?
Side quests.
Shagging side quests.
There you go. So, like, I'll grant you that he can wander away from his main objective, but the difference is that his charm is often a resource. Like, you know, when he saved himself from execution by seducing his two executioners, whereas Sparrow's vice, which also leads him off the main objective, which is drunkenness, is never a boon to him. It is always weighing him down and making sure that he doesn't accomplish things in a convenient manner.
There is only, that you mentioned, only one instance of that happening. In the first 4 movies, he only uses drinking when, like, there's nothing else to do when they were stuck on the island. Otherwise, he drinks some, but it does not affect his actions or his motions.
I would argue that his drinking is the cause of most of his actions.
That's fair.
I mean, if it gets you to do some of the crazy levers and pulleys stuff that he is capable of, apparently he is I don't even know what level physicist you have to be able to do that drunk. I really don't, but apparently
I want to do that drunk.
I want to. If I can do that, I mean, the rest of us can't do that sober. So nor can Jack Harkness. Frankly, look, Sparrow's mastery of simple machinery puts all of us to shame.
So you're saying he's going to use an inclined plane to get the deck of many things?
Apparently it works every time. I don't know how or why. It just does.
There's one more thing I want to touch on real quick, which we haven't touched on yet, which is Harkness's overwhelming advantage when it comes to weaponry and technology. Because, like, if we get our usual assortment of gadgetry, then first of all, he has his Webley revolver, which in and of itself is more advanced than anything that Jack Sparrow has ever seen using. He has his sonic blaster, which can blast this wide area and disintegrate matter and then put that matter back together. So, like, you can use it to escape from a situation the way he does in the episode The Doctor Dances, or just, vaporize people. He also carries a compact laser deluxe in his ass.
Yes, he does. Sorry.
So he can't ever really be disarmed. I mean, if Jack Sparrow wants to try to put a flintlock pistol in his ass, then, good luck.
Do you really put it past him?
I wouldn't.
There could have been one this whole time.
Those pistols fail to fire when they get a little wet, so I don't know how good of an idea that is.
No, you're right. He absolutely does. However, these are also things that draw attention. None of these are particularly subtle, and also if they break or if anything goes wrong, he doesn't really have something to fall back on, whereas Jack just grabs whatever is nearest. And bladed weapons are a lot quieter if you're trying to, just stab somebody or, do a sneaky and just hold a blade up to somebody's throat or, grab a chain and put it up to their throat. Be like, shh, cooperate with me.
The stealth strategy really only lasts until you unsteadily and drunkenly, fall into a suit of armor or break a vase or something. So, if you want to talk about going the stealth route, I really don't feel like Sparrow's the guy you want to send on that one.
Also, I feel like his scent, his smell is going to reach anyone long before they see him, and they're going to know.
Is really hammering this point about how he smells.
In this city full of filthy gangsters, do you think?
All right, you know what? It did its job, because I did not have that written down, and now it's getting written down.
All right.
So good job.
Good job.
Stinky!
Are you saying that people in this D&D and Dark Tower thing are regular bathers? Is that what you are telling me?
I mean, I'm going to guess that no one in Pirates is, and they single out Jack as uniquely smelly. So, we're already grading on a curve with him.
He was just coming out of the water with a creature chasing him. He just had a bath.
Yeah, he's practically clean.
I think that's as good a point as any to
Really? Really, when we're getting to the hygiene, you're ready to stop? Well, we got to ass pistols and hygiene, guys. Good job.
That's what matters here. Damn, finding that 19th story hasn't been easy for either team, but you both managed it. I gotta tell you, though, it's a pretty weird place. It's full of lightning and bullshit and more lightning. Oh no, it's the lightning round! Oh no! As tends to happen on this show, and also because Sparrow and Harkness reach the tower's inner sanctum at exactly the same time, and leap for the nearly empty deck of cards standing on a pedestal in the center. They each manage to get a hand on the last card, and they draw it as one, revealing the image of a bottle of liquor?
Ow!
Suddenly, there's a flash of light, and a figure leaps from the surface of the card, materializing in front of the shocked swashbucklers. Smiling, he explains that they have inadvertently released from bondage the long-contained trickster god of alcohol, he who reigns supreme over 3-day benders and blacked-out bar fights, the legendary pirate businessman known as Captain Jack Daniels.
Oh, nice.
After listening to their explanations for why they freed him, the booze god smiles and proposes a contest for his favor, which of course comes with a boon. What kind of contest, you ask? Come on now, you know the answer to that. It's a little game I like to call Last Drunk Standing. Jack Harkness and Jack Sparrow are going to travel the length and breadth of this city like it's Mardi Gras in New Orleans, drinking nonstop until one of them passes out. You'll be hitting all the best clubs in Andoliniville, out-chugging your opponent, playing darts and beer pong, and trying like hell to stay just a little more sober than the other guy. Why will your character win this drinking contest? What tricks, dirty or otherwise, will you employ to stay on your feet? How will you deal with the growing retinue of college students from Gilead on spring break who keep saying they want you to win, but also keep feeding you drinks and cheering every time you finish one? And what bizarre cocktail will you drunkenly invent and offer your opponent for the finishing blow that will finally put him over the limit? Team Sparrow went first in the main round, so Team Harkness will go first in the lightning round.
I mean, knowing that there are probably multiple Jack Harknesses living at any one time in history, he can employ his shadow Harknesses to join him on this trip. No matter how drunk he gets, he's always got another one just waiting in the wings, a little bit more sober, and you can just swap them out willy-nilly as they travel around the town. He's always going to survive. And even if he does drink to the point of literally dying, he's just going to come back to life, and he's going to start over again, because he's going to be fine. It resets. Sober again. There's no way that he can lose.
Well, for one thing, you know, that story where he took home the two people that were supposed to execute him, that story begins with him drinking 4, quote, hyper vodkas. So,
yeah, I wondered what those were too, and I don't think I want to know.
I mean, I feel like he's already kind of playing at a higher level than Jack Sparrow ever has. Like, even if we remove the fact that Sparrow has clearly been pre-gaming for way too long to actually address this in a healthy way. But I feel like, yeah, in terms of pranks, Harkness can absolutely make it look like he got alcohol poisoning and died, and Sparrow will, you know, assume that he has won, while, in fact, Harkness is fine, and as Hannah mentioned, perhaps another Harkness is the one who's actually doing this particular competition and slips past Jack Sparrow and continues while Jack Sparrow decides that seeing as the contest is over, he should probably sleep this one off. I think that the cocktail that Harkness devises, and there may be a couple if you have some ideas, Hannah, but the one that I came up with was the shit face of Bo. Which makes it feel as though your head has come detached and then your face got really stretched out and that you can see the universe.
Oh, damn.
So probably some hallucinogens in there, but it's extremely potent for sure.
It's like a Betty special from Rat Queens.
Yes, that's exactly it. Also, it's served in what's essentially a miniature TARDIS. So you think it's like, you know, a pint or a shot, but actually the inside of the vessel is much larger than the outside. So you actually end up drinking a lot more than you think.
Oh, that's good. I like that, Dan.
Really good.
Dan, I like it. All right, Team Sparrow, whenever you're ready.
So something that I just realized was, you know that coin from Isla de Muerta that Jack Sparrow has that makes him immortal? Mm-hmm. It also makes him unable to feel food or drink, which makes him unable to get drunk.
I'm going to say in this case that given that it's said in the first Pirates film that it kind of takes them a while, like takes them years of giving the coins away to get to that point, then I'm going to say he can become drunk.
All right.
But I will take the condition of the coin into account.
Okay. This is my own suspicion about Jack, is that he is probably the kind of person who probably just vomits very early in the evening and then forgets that he vomited and continues. Like,
probably accounts for some of the smell we were talking about earlier.
I just don't think that he bothers to go, no, I paid for it, I'm keeping it down. First of all, I doubt he paid for it. Secondly, I don't think he cares enough So I would imagine that he is never as drunk as he possibly could be.
Because he just keeps puking.
Yeah, the tactical puke. As far as tricks to stay upright, I would imagine Josh Me Gibbs is nearby and probably holding him up a little. Also, from that time whenever he was on that island that was very racist, he probably has some of those extra eyes painted onto his own eyes just to sort of, confuse predators, that kind of thing.
Confuse predators like drunkenness?
Yeah, exactly. Look, if you don't think that's the kind of thing Jack Sparrow would say, I don't know what to tell you. All right, dealing with drunken college students shouting shot.
I think he'd just go for it. I think he'd be like, yeah, I'm just gonna fucking puke it up in a couple of minutes. I'll do some shots with you.
I also think there's another thing that he does that I feel is perfect for this, which is that he will turn and join in and look at somebody else expectantly as a way of going like, oh, no, you're obviously not talking about me. You're talking about this other person. And then the other person becomes the target of the thing. And then he is going to have some sort of shot dummy that he's like, oh, yeah, they're talking about you. Shot, 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 shot. And then everybody looks at that person all of a sudden. And then that kid's probably not alive now. I'm very sorry.
So the cocktail invention that he would create is the fucking Kraken. It's Bacardi 151 and has a maelstrom in it with an actual octopus.
Oh, hell yeah!
And not a live octopus, one you can actually swallow when you take the shot.
Right,
it's like doing the worm thing, but, yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
And then the way that you prepare it is that you
I was going to say, is it just straight, 151 on the octopus?
No. See, you get your Bacardi and you shake it with some ice, and then you strain it through Jack Sparrow's hair into the glass with the octopus, and then you fucking drink it.
Oh, man. Well,
I'm good with the club soda, thank you.
If that doesn't do it, nothing will. Guys, this has been a lot of fun, but I have to go figure out whether I'm sleeping in my own bed or in Dan's bed tonight, so talk amongst yourselves.
Bye.
I would just like to give a shout out to my brothers who sent me a life-size cardboard cutout of Captain Jack Harkness.
Ooh.
Once upon a time that used to freak people out when they walked through my apartment.
Yeah,
You had a little bit of a collection of Doctor Who themed cardboard cutouts, if I'm not mistaken.
I did. I've had many in my time.
Did you pose them in erotic tableaus?
Oh, always. I used to hide them in, my housemates' beds.
Yeah.
I'd just be like, surprise. You're sleeping with this person tonight.
Oh, that's delightful. Oh, because we're talking about what episode number is this, Dan?
107?
And we still
107.
haven't done the Doctor. I still am going to ask, who's your favorite Doctor?
I think my favorite Doctor is my first Doctor, which is the Paul McGann Doctor from the 1990s telly
That's a
movie.
hot Doctor.
Really hot. And then he came back, still hot.
Oh, God, Paul
Still
McGann. I want to eat him. He's like a little cream puff.
Even though I watched a little bit of Doctor Who when I was younger with my dad, I didn't really start watching it until I started watching the 9th Doctor. So he was my first Doctor, and I really loved him. But I have to say the hottest Doctor to me is David Tennant.
Yeah.
I feel like it is kind of a basic answer, but David Tennant is just the best, in my opinion. He brings so much boyish enthusiasm to it. He's just such a joy to watch. I think he's fantastic as the Doctor.
I agree. Yeah, he is a very good Doctor.
Yes.
I would die on a battlefield for 9 because he's so he's so wounded. I love him.
So I have to ask, between Doctor Who and Torchwood, where do your guys' preferences fall? Because it astonishes me how different those shows are from each other.
They're very different tonally and in the subject matter of what they're dealing with, even though they share common themes and aliens and stuff. I think they both have a place in my heart. I think Doctor Who is my preference just because it's still on and it has such a larger back catalogue. And I will say this, I think that the audiobooks and comics and novels of Torchwood are better.
Really?
Maybe the television series is not as good.
Well, watching the episodes now, they were certainly working with some 2000s BBC TV special effects.
Oh,
that,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
hit with some mixed success. There were definitely some awkward-looking fight scenes in that series.
That's like one of my favorite things about Doctor Who, like especially the first of the reboot seasons. I fucking love how shitty the effects are. It's amazing.
Yeah, they're real bad.
There's something about the contrast between how like silly and funny some of the episodes can be and then just how often they make me cry. There's certain episodes that just make me weep every single time I watch them. We were talking about the Dr. Donna episode and that one. Every time I watch that episode, I start crying before anything happens. Miles hadn't seen it and we're watching it and he's like, oh God, what's going to happen? I'm like, nothing. I'm just crying because
I liked Torchwood a lot, but it didn't grab me the way that Doctor Who did. And I also really love that Doctor Who kind of has a freedom from the arc structure that Torchwood in some ways kind of has some Monster of the Week stuff, but doesn't get to do these weird, like, standalone stuff. The Family of Blood stuff I think about a lot.
It's interesting because I feel like Doctor Who has higher highs and lower lows for me.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Torchwood is more consistent in terms of its like tone and episode quality.
Superior to all of this is the third Pirates movie.
Wow.
Oh, whoa!
That movie just, like, made me, like, collapse in paroxysms of what the fuck.
I mean, Davy Jones standing in that fucking bucket of water on the beach.
Oh my God, it's so good.
What a loser! I love him!
Realistically, there are many episodes of Doctor Who that are better than that movie, but I did really enjoy it, and I didn't think I was going to. Judgment. Team Harkness made the argument very effectively that Sparrow, relies on luck and fortune and being in the right place at the right time and having people do the things he needs them to do. And then, Team Sparrow made the point that his morality and his sex, whatever, shagging side quests, would both distract him. And the primary rebuttal to that from Team Harkness was that it does all the time and he makes it up anyway. So those are they're sort of equivalent points, Sparrow wins because he gets lucky. Harkness wins despite the distractions because he's just that good and he can do it anyway because things work out. The thing that I eventually stuck on is that what Team Sparrow kept coming back to was either it's luck or it's a plan or it's manipulation or it's like actually being more skilled than he lets anybody ever see. I think based on Team Sparrow's arguments, I find that to be plausible. And so with that in mind, I think that gives Sparrow a very slight edge, and I'm going to give this to Captain Jack Sparrow.
Ugh.
Woo!
I'm sorry. It was a long, drawn-out process. I had thought long and hard about it to make sure that I wasn't being biased. But yeah, after going over all my notes again and just rethinking all the arguments, I think that I was more convinced by Team Sparrow.
It's all right, Miles. I still love you.
You guys did such an amazing
you
job.
You guys did so good.
Oh my
I'm
God.
still afraid.
Both sides did tremendous jobs. I just want to put that over again. I just felt myself a little bit more convinced by Sparrow. If we take nothing away from this episode, I think that I managed to put a little bit more accuracy behind the everybody's buy portion of our TV tropes page. So
there you go.
That was my primary goal. Hannah, thanks again so much for coming on. We really appreciate you participating.
Thank you for having me.
Sharon,
it's been so much fun.
Yeah, and Sharon, thank you again. Always a pleasure to have you on.
Always a pleasure to have both of you. And you too, Miles and Bob. You guys are great.
Well, thanks, Dan. I like you too.
Everybody's wonderful.
Oh my God, this is the best episode ever.
If we take nothing away from this episode, I think that I managed to put a little bit more accuracy behind the everybody's buy portion of our TV tropes page. So
there you go.
That was my primary goal.
We have so many things. So I'm going to try and go through this as quickly as possible. First of all, thank you to Molly Hayes Hernandez, if that is your real name, who made us a TV tropes page.
Yes, as Miles referenced earlier. We're super flattered that she did that, and I really enjoy looking at that and giggling, and it's awesome. So thank you, Molly.
And then thank you to Matias Totimes, who has written multiple transcripts of our first episodes. We are slow. We got the first one up, but it's episode 2 because, like I said, we're fuck-ups. But we got one. We're doing our best.
These are all on the website, the transcripts.
Yes.
Would that be smashfictionpodcast.com, Dan?
Why, yes, Miles. Yes, it would be.
Oh, fascinating.
I also wanted to give a little shout out here. Bob was on the podcast called The Math of You.
Yeah, she was.
Oh, yeah.
So you should check that out if you want to see a little extra Bobness. Just get down and real with Bob. And finally, if you guys have not heard, we have a Facebook group. So this is not like the Facebook page. You can actually very easily talk to other fans, talk to us.
I mean, Bob's been freaking killing it with
Bob's
her
crushing
like regular posts, and I mean, we all pretty much try to chime into the conversations that are happening, but they've been really good conversations, and yeah, I've really enjoyed being on the Facebook group.
Yeah, if you want to talk
it's
nerd
been a lot of
stuff with
fun.
us. Yeah, it should be pretty easy to find. All you have to do is go to Facebook and search Smash Fiction Fan Faction. We're not sorry. We're not sorry. And then just apply to join. I think I made it so that you have to at least answer one little question. So I know you're not some weird spammer. But other than that, it should be easy for you to answer.
And one important thing about it, just in case you're cautious about joining groups, everybody in the group has been really nice to one another because I've been watching and everybody has been nice, even when they've disagreed.
Yes.
Yeah, our Facebook group differs from other Facebook groups in that we have literally the nicest person on earth making sure nobody's mean to each other. So it's really a different experience than you might be thinking about or
I
expecting.
am the Batman of niceness.
God damn it. God damn right.
You just drop down from a gargoyle and give someone a hug, and
Yeah.
then disappear into the night.
I do.
Over to Twitter. Thank you to the Tuning Japanese Podcast, the Gameable Podcast, the Shattered Worlds RPG, Robert Ramsey, Florian, Jake the Fake Jake Slikes, Takes, and Bakes. Also, Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, I'm assuming. Cosplay Fiend, Vander Turner, Matias Tatimes, Hayden Whom Time Forgot But We Didn't, the Politipop Podcast, and Mike Booch.
Mike Booch.
Over to Tumblr, thank you to FatBlun69,
Fat
Changing
Blunt
Shades,
69.
Pizamon, and Jeep Rhyme. And on Facebook, thank you again to Matias Tatimes, Tom Groh, Adam Mayo, Daniel Kidder, and Sharon Schneiderman.
We also wanted to thank this episode's featured patron, Krista, who, due to the power of Miles's narration, became the crime queen of Andoliniville.
That's right.
In some weird non-time parallel dimension. And this is because she is a patron of ours at the $1 a month or greater amount. That and many other prizes await you should you decide to head on over to patreon.com/smashfictionpodcast and see all the bonus content we have. So much bonus content at this point. We also wanted to give a special thanks to the Gameable Podcast, who suggested this very match years ago, and so thanks to Chris and Katrina for suggesting that. And then finally, I did want to share with everyone a new iTunes review that we've gotten. So this is a 5-star iTunes review entitled, I'm Finally Caught Up. It comes to us from Sean, Not a Skeleton, Boyd.
Oh.
The review goes, I binged this entire podcast in 4 months. I wanted to wait until I was completely caught up to give a review, and now I can. Holy hell, guys, is this podcast good? Aww. If you've ever had the discussion with your fellow nerd who would win in a fight, Batman or Dr. Doom, then this podcast is for you. This rotating cast of advocates and judges keeps the banter and arguments fresh and interesting to listen to. Even if you don't know the character that is being presented, the hosts make it very accessible for those who may not delve into the deep lore of a fictional character. Besides Smash Fiction proper, they also do Extraordinary League, an actual play RPG that uses pre-existing characters like Stitch, Archer, Luna Lovegood, etc., and is in my top 3 RPG podcasts right next to Taz and One Shot Campaign.
Holy
You can
frick.
jump into Smash Fiction at whatever point, but I'd recommend starting with a match you'd find interesting and go from there. I can't recommend this podcast enough.
Oh.
So sweet.
That
Thank
is
you, Sean.
awesome.
Aw, thanks,
Thank you.
Sean. Even if you're not a skeleton.
I mean, or if you're only a skeleton secretly, it's
Yeah.
okay. Thank you for listening to this episode of Smash Fiction. Next week, Smash Metafiction returns with the second episode of Surprise Party, and the week after that, Black Panther versus Vixen.
Smash Fiction is produced by Miles Schneiderman and production assistant Sharon Schneiderman, with logo design by Claire Mulcairn.
Special thanks to Kevin McLeod of the Clan McLeod at Incompetech.com for our theme song, Hitman.
You can find us on Twitter at SmashFic Podcast and search for the Smash Fiction Podcast on Facebook, Tumblr, and YouTube.
Subscribe on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice, and if you leave us a good review, we shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Smash Fiction is made possible thanks to our supporters on Patreon at patreon.com/smashfictionpodcast. Please consider donating as little as $1 each month. It helps us keep the show going, and we have great rewards and extra content for those who help us out.
If you have any suggestions, feedback, or other contributions, send them to us at smashfictionpodcast@gmail.com and help us continue the fight.
I'm
When
so...
you're finished, love.
I was still having a mental image of Jack Sparrow trying to put a giant gun up his
ass,
butt.
yeah.
I can't stop giggling about that.
It is a hell of a thing. Those also have some weight to them, like... I don't know how you're keeping it up there. This has been Physics Corner.
Real talk, though, that island was fucking racist, yo.
Oh, God. That every